Good morning, beautiful souls. It's Friday Ascension update. Today, I thought it'd be a good day to go through what we need to go through whilst having a little meander through the woods. I feel as if I need to move. So for those of you that are new to the channel, do occasionally do a walk and talk. And today is such a day. It's a rather beautiful morning in the United Kingdom, or England, on the south coast. And I am deep in my local woods. Probably come across various dog walkers, runners, mountain bikers along the way, which is always fun. But the way things are nowadays, people walking along, documenting themselves, it's not a strange sight any longer, is it? So I want to talk about where we are at the moment. It's an interesting topic with a lot of very finely tuned moving parts to it. If you have a conversation with one awakened soul, one light worker, they'll have a version of events that are very kind of tragic and filled with fear. Morning. And it's a good hill to be running up. It's and then you have another conversation, and the version will be very different. It will be, yeah, everything's happening for a reason, the world is changing. Every single person has got a different perspective on what is occurring at the moment. Some of those versions are rooted in fear, which is understandable, and others are held in a space of expectancy, you know, looking to the future or where we are now with a golden outlook. And that is the side of the coin that I tend to take. Although there are days indeed where I think to myself, this is getting really full on. This is getting intense. And I was listening to a lady who I know is incredibly popular yesterday. I won't mention any names, but I'm sure many of you will be familiar with her. And she was talking about how the great events of 2020, the gaslighting, never finished after everything apparently went back to normal. And I could hear what she was saying. I could hear the resonance. But her perspective was that, yes, there's a great awakening occurring, but there's also a huge amount of fear. People have changed. People have separated. They've gone about their ways, but are permanently in a state of high alert. So it was a perspective that was very much rooted in psychological analysis, and I do like a scientific approach, providing that it is based in holistic, the esoteric side, that you bring all parts of the equation into play. And one thing that she was saying rang really true, is that we've had our initial illusion of safety completely torpedoed, completely shattered, which means that we are continuously looking at things from a perspective. Morning. Continuously looking at things from a perspective where we are expecting the hammer to fall. expecting things to go completely wrong at a moment's notice. And I suddenly realised what my nervous system has been telling me for a long period of time. And she was right. She's absolutely right. That because of the changes we're experiencing, because of what we're moving through, we are permanently on high alert, we're permanently on guard, we're permanently, waiting for the next event, the big event. And of course, when we're all rooted in a collective reality, when we are all sharing a perspective through our own personal lenses, it has a tendency to really form the reality in which we live. So what do we do about that? What do we do about this, I'd say, sense of expectancy, but inner kind of logic or workings of expecting the hammer to fall? And I think this is now a period of time, as we walk through the solstice gateway, as we move into one of the most powerful times of the year, is to really sit with this. I don't know whether I've kind of gone completely off the beaten path there. I'm following a woodland trail that is it's actually taking me deep into the unknown. So I'm sure I'll find a path again in a minute, but just for the time being, I'm going to be ducking and ducking. Oh, here we go. I've got a pathway. Yay! See? It's just a case of following your guidance a little bit. So I think we need to really work on this. I feel that it is something that we can gloss it over. We can glaze over it as much as we want. But from a personal standpoint, I think, or I feel, that she was right. We're glazing over how we're really feeling inside. And many of us are really fearful of change. Really fearful of change. Now, I can come on here as often as I like and analyse the goings on. This is happening, that's happening, this energy is creating these circumstances. The intergalactic council are doing this, that and the other. They have these expectations. The puppeteers are being the puppeteers. And when we have a physical experience, when we are experiencing something so viscerally in our lives, yes, it helps to hear these words, but on an emotional level, it's conjecture, because we have the reality of our experience. And we're being asked at the moment to be bastions of peace, of light, of happiness and of joy. But I think we need to be really honest with ourselves about how much of that we are actually feeling and how much we are truly experiencing. Because the world is changing, and it's changing rapidly. It's not changing calmly in any way, shape or form. I mean, you don't have to look very far to see, hear and sense the upheaval in the 3D world. Now, when Merlin brought that energy through in March, on the 29th, if you remember, if you've been with me a while, more than a couple of months, the conversation that I had at the end of March about the blue light coming through. The blue light, that beautiful mixture of Syrian energy and Pleiadian energy that simply washed all of the illusion away from our third eyes. Well, what this lady was talking about on her YouTube presentation was very hand in hand with this, that the gift of sight is not necessarily being registered as a gift by our nervous systems. It's creating an inflammation of emotions within us that have the potential to really bring everybody into a subconscious state of fear. So I think the time is now to really go inside and begin working on ourselves with the utmost kindness on a daily basis. Check in, ask how we are feeling. What are our expectations for the day? What are we experiencing on an individual level? Not just on a collective level. I mean, we can see what's going on out there. We can see the change, we can see the upheaval, we can see the deliberately constructed and manufactured events that are occurring. And it reminds me of conversation I had in Hamburg with my lovely group when Miriam Beck and I were presenting the weekend workshop. Oh no, it wasn't April, it was May. It was the beginning of May, not long ago. And as I came to Hamburg, I noted that the energy was very different there. And of course the Hamburgians were saying, oh, well, that's just because you live where you live and the energy feels different where we live. It's not actually like that. I said, trust me, I can feel the difference. The energy in England, the UK, Ireland included, feels as if a box of fireworks, a big box, is being lit underneath the very feet, the ground upon which we walk. And lo and behold, that box of fireworks has been ignited. So we're seeing the explosions, we're seeing the Roman candles, the Catherine wheels, the air bomb repeaters, all of it going off. And our only option is to stay in a state of inner peace whilst witnessing all of this. But we have to take into consideration the effect that this is having on our nervous systems. So begin, if you haven't already, to be very aware of how your nervous system has been responding to what's going on. Pretty much how it's been responding since 2020, if you were aware of what happened back then. The nuts and the bolts, the true nuts and bolts of the situation, the great illusion, the great hoodwinking that caught everybody so unawares and so by surprise. And I think what's really having an effect at the moment is the fact that that was such a massive occurrence. We can see the energy behind the situation, the reasons why it occurred, and we know that. I talk about it a lot. I've been talking about it for years. But the actual emotional response that we've had to it is very different. And that's what I'm talking about today, is the gentle consideration that we need to be starting to have for ourselves under the circumstances that we are living in, that we're occurring in. Many of us as light workers are beginning to feel a real rising resistance, in our everyday lives, from the keepers of the matrix, the powers that were. They're becoming very desperate. And of course, they have the ability to make life very difficult if they choose to do so. I have personal experience of this myself, which has been going on for a considerable period of time at toll on my nervous system. So this is, again, conversations that we bring into our everyday spiritual life. I don't think we can continue to keep our heads in the clouds without our boots being firmly on the ground. And it's okay beginning to recognise the things that don't resonate with you. You know, the calling the false light out and being loud about your preferences. But I've always been a big advocate of, if something doesn't need your energy, something doesn't require your focus and your attention, just walk away. Just continue on as you were and find the things that do resonate. Start being really choosy about how you spend that precious currency, that vibration, whilst being fully and completely aware at all times of how that precious inner self, your inner child, your nervous system is responding to what's going on around us. Because instead of anything disappearing, going away, or going back to normal after 2020, despite the fact that this is the spiritual change that we've been looking for, it has an effect on us that we need to be aware of as grounded, sensible, forward-moving spiritual beings working for the light. And I think it's time we start coming together and having these conversations. It was a great push that I felt when I started bringing the idea of WAGS, the Wednesday Ascension Group Support, forward, which is every Wednesday at 10 o'clock if you haven't heard of it. And the sense of building growth and community is huge. It's a safe space. So if we don't feel as if we have this safe space around us in our everyday world, that's when the nervous system, us, our emotions begin to really fire up. Never before have we needed each other so much. This is becoming more important, you can see how the whole thing works. This drive towards the Atlantean Ascension gold print, in order to shake everybody out of their apathy, their torpor, their separation, their individuality, this programmed mindset that we've endured throughout the third dimension, but particularly more so in the more recent generations. What's occurring around us at the moment, more than anything else, will have the capacity to completely bring us all together. And the quicker we do it, the more rapidly we can begin to restructure the changes that we need to see. Because it's become amazingly obvious, blindingly, glaringly obvious, that the world cannot continue in its previous form. It is literally melting away, or rather burning, before our very eyes. And those fires will continue, ignited in the true fashion of the phoenix. The phoenix energy is here, the dragon energy is here. The elementals have ascended, the angels are here in abundance, the ascended masters that we haven't met in their millions have come in. So, what are we going to do about it? I feel change. I feel an establishment of a new community, a new growth, a new system. Yes, people need to step up and lead and to take the helm before others also do so. But if we all stepped up together, what if all of a sudden we honoured the call and we all just went, this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to live? And I think we're reaching that point very rapidly. So my beautiful people, as we move towards another day, closer towards the solstice, the June solstice, summer in the north, winter in the south. Allow yourself to fall into that sense of community, of positive expectation, knowing full well that everything that is occurring is leading to a higher good, but also understand that we can't whitewash or gloss over how we are feeling inside, and to really take that into consideration. Love you all very much, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.